I think the most important thing I find for myself, and I've learned through the years, is not to put unnecessary pressure on myself. So sometimes if it's not working out, sometimes if I can't manage, I'm not harsh on myself. I'm just like, okay, it's okay. You pick it up tomorrow. Because sometimes you're also tired,
Yeah.
We're all human. By the end of the day, you've taken like 8-10 classes and you're just like, I'm not even in the mood now to look at the business end of stuff, And that's okay. I think that's fine.
Today's guest is a mindful movement practitioner, author, entrepreneur, and Pilates expert, the very, very lovely Namrata Purohit. While the world is dealing with a pandemic, I wanted to talk to Namrata, about dealing with health and fitness through practices like mindfulness and meditation. Namrata and I spoke extensively about, how to do meditation, how to practice mindfulness, its benefits, and how do you approach health in scenarios like work from home and where both men and women are multitasking to get things done. If you're even slightly interested in finding ways to center yourself, ground yourself, you will find this episode very, very useful.
Hey, Namrata, thank you for coming on Questions I Wanted to Ask. It is so much of an honor to have you, talk to you in the middle of all this chaos, talk to you about, things which I think a lot of them are of personal interest to me, but a lot of them are things that are required, we should be talking about. Welcome on board, and I'm hoping to have a really good, fruitful conversation which can help a lot of other people as well, whoever listens to it.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad I could be here. I'm glad I'm talking to you. I hope this session is fruitful for everyone, and I'm sure for me too.
My pleasure. I'll just start with, when I was going through, of course, I follow you on Instagram and all of that. There's a word which is added to your profile pretty much everywhere. It's called mindful movement practitioner. I try and meditate, but I'm not sure whether how much of this mindfulness do I practice or do I know about, right? Especially in my daily life. I want to know what is mindfulness and what is it that, you're trying to practice?
First of all, very simply put, I would say being mindful comes out in every little thing that we do in our life. It's being completely present in the moment, in the movement in this case, or in whatever you are doing. So whether it's moving mindfully, whether it is eating mindfully, the entire purpose is to be 100% present in that very moment. So basically, no distractions, first of all. Secondly, focusing on your breath, on also relaxing the mind, on also just being aware about what your body is doing, what your mind is doing, where it is wandering. All these things come together and form a practice of mindful movement, or rather being mindful. Now, when I talk about mindful movement, of course, because, there's a lot that you can do with your body. So the whole purpose of mindful movement is understanding what your body needs, what your body wants, and also targeting those kind of movements into your regime. So, for example, now you know that we all have a lot of control over our breath, and breathing itself is, as we say, the very first act of life in the very past.
Yeah.
So it is very important to be mindful of the breathing you're doing when you're working out. Sometimes we have exercise routines where we say, okay, on this move you need to exhale, on this you need to inhale. And sometimes we say, you know what, let go, breathe, and you tell me what your breath naturally wants to do. So it's kind of you understanding what your body's demands are, and at the same time understanding, for example, we obviously breathe into our lungs. Now, do we breathe in more on one side? Do we breathe in less on the other side? Can we open up, when we inhale, our diaphragm naturally sinks a little bit. So can we feel that movement? Can we feel that motion? All these things bring a lot of awareness to literally the center of our body, and brings a lot of centering through the mind, the body, understanding your physical space. I mean, I can keep going on about this, But it is just basically mindfulness. Whether even when you're eating, I keep saying, please leave your phone aside. Look at what you're eating. Chew your food. Most of the times today when you're eating, you're also like looking at your phone, replying to messages on the phone, quickly chewing. You don't know what's going into your system most of the time. You're not, I mean, you do know what you packed for lunch, but you're not aware of what you're eating.
And you're not enjoying what's going in your system.
So it's basically being 100% present in that movement, in that moment, and taking every single thing in that you can get from that moment.
You know, as a mother, as a working mother, I've heard this a lot from the older women, you know, who've been working moms saying, you know, don't worry when you're trying to do multiple things. Don't worry about iska kya hoga, uska kya hoga. Just be at that moment at whatever thing you're doing. So as a working mother, as a woman, maybe I can understand because I'm trying to multitask or whatever, and which I will ask you about that later. But why? I mean, the simpler question, why is mindfulness required? Why should a 25-year-old worry about, you know, mindfulness? Why should a 25-year-old think about mindfulness?
But first, I'd like to say a 25-year-old or anybody, no matter what age, should not worry about mindfulness.
Sure.
Yes, you can think about being mindful, but don't worry about it. So I think the most important thing is, see what's happening today. Like you said, there are so many demands in our day, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's going to college, whether it's finishing some exams, whether it's cleaning the house, taking care of kids, taking care of work, maybe 100 different things at workspace. You're taking work home with you at the moment. We are working from home, but we're working, you know, late hours, and there's just so much going on all the time. We live in a world where you get updates every second on your phone. You're reading about the virus, you're reading about so many things that are putting pressure on your brain or pressure on yourself, and that kind of translates into the entire body. We don't realize how the stresses of life impact, of course, the mind, but also the body, also the physical being, the internal and external being. So the reason being mindful is so important is, one, because you need to be aware about what information or what processes you're putting through your body, what signals you're sending into your body. Now, the second you start focusing on yourself, being mindful is what? Being mindful also about external things, but also being mindful about yourself, being mindful about your needs, being mindful about where you need to go, what you need to do in order to love yourself. And like I always say, it's not, you know, sometimes people ask me, isn't that being selfish? And I'm like, no, it's not about being selfish. And it's okay to be a little bit selfish, because unless you take care of yourself, your mental health and your physical well-being as well, you cannot translate that into other people's life either. Because if you're unhappy, how can you ever expect to make somebody else happy? You know? So kind of finding that time for yourself, even if it's just 1 hour in the day. That's why I say, if you come to my studio and you work out, I'll tell you, please put the phone away. This is your 1 hour. You've dedicated to yourself. Now, in the middle of the workout, if you're going to get a work call and go somewhere, there's no point.
Doesn't make sense.
You know, you need to. It's not just about, one, of course, discipline, but also about just being in tune with yourself. Just saying that, you know what, this is my 1 hour, and being okay with that. And that's something I feel like in today's day and age is very, very important, because we've lost that. Given that our phones are with us everywhere, people take them to the toilet. You know, you're sitting on the pot and looking at your phone. So finding that time where you can just be like, this is my 1 hour, you know, is very, very important for your mental well-being. And it'll help you in the long term as well. It'll help you when you have unnecessary pressure coming in from here and there. You'll feel more grounded. You'll feel more centered. And that's why being mindful is important. It's very important to just be healthy.
Yeah. But tell me, in a scenario like today or the last 14, 15 months that the world has seen, where we're all working from home, how does one practice especially if, say, in a city like Bombay, where you're living in smaller flats, you have people around you always, somebody is on the iPad, somebody's on the laptop, some, you know, child is playing the video game, and there is kitchen going on. I mean, there's everything around you, right? And then you're working, you have your phone, you have your laptop, whatever. How does one become mindful in a scenario where you're working from home?
But, you know, what I say is, even if you're working from home, first of all, I think we're fortunate that we have work at home, you know. In this day and age, of course, we have to count our blessings as well.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
But I think it's in that again, it's just finding or putting aside that 1 hour for yourself, even if you're working from home, maybe first thing in the morning. Like I have a morning routine where I'm like, okay, I wake up, the first 1 hour, I will not look at my phone, I will not look at my laptop, I will not look at any screen, no device. I spend that 1 hour with myself. Sometimes I'm just looking out of the window, doing, some nice deep breaths, watching people go by outside, or just life wake up, and just finding my center, finding my breath, finding my grounding for the day, and just practicing, gratefulness also, like, just being grateful for everything you have. I think all those things help you feel more relaxed, help you feel more thankful for everything that's going on, and just finding the positive things in the day, because I think that's what we really need to do right now, is find the little things that make us happy, or the small joys in each day. So for me, even when I'm super busy and like, taking classes all day, I'll still find that 1 hour in the morning, or sometimes in the evening, I'll put on like music and dance. And that's my 1 hour to kind of just feel liberated. To
Dance
just feel
for you is that, right?
Yeah, I love dancing, whether it's my workout or whatever. Like, it depends, I feel like it's also very important to listen to yourself. Like, there's some days I just feel like I just need to move, I just need to put on music and just go for it.
Interesting. Tell me something. You are somebody who started working at a very, very early age, right? Found yourself, found your voice, and found your passion, most importantly. But in all of this, you've been doing a lot of things, right? I also noticed, during my interactions with you in the past few days, you have a certain time during which you will respond to the phone, you will respond to messages. I figured that, right? And which is a great thing, because you're setting up boundaries for yourself. But someone like you, who's while taking online classes right now, of course, to your multiple huge big clientele list of clients, and they're all very important people, they wouldn't want to be late and stuff like that, or they are themselves sometimes late. At the same time, you've written a book, you run a business, you're an entrepreneur, and everything that goes around running. How do you then, how do you kind of structure your life around it? I think structure is my question. I know they're all interrelated, like whether mindfulness, but a lot of people wanted to know. A lot of people want to know how, because you yourself are a sports person. You're somebody who teaches, health to people, or who coaches on health. But then, how do you structure that part of your life?
Honestly, that's a tough question, because I don't have a very specific answer for it. But I think, one thing I learned at a young age from my parents is that you always have time for the things that matter most.
Sure.
So I feel like, yes, the day has 24 hours. Sometimes we feel like it's not enough. But because I'm also an early bird, I feel like I capture more of the day. And so, like, I wake up early. I have, as you saw, I have hours where I'll look at my phone and reply, and it's just, as you said, setting those boundaries, saying that, okay, this is my time for this is my time for this, and this is my time to do whatever I want, because they can't also always be structured. There needs to be a time when you're like, I don't know what I'm doing right now, which is also really important. So I think it's a mix of that. But yes, I think what I do is I have certain hours where I keep fixed for like clients, or, I say I will work from this time to this time online, or take classes in person, whatever, whichever the situation. Between these hours, after these hours, I will work on other things I want to work on, whether it's the business, like the Pilates studio, whether it's the Earth Circle, another passion project.
Yes.
Then, of course, I will work on my book as much as possible. But also, I think the most important thing I find for myself, and I've learned through the years, is not to put unnecessary pressure on myself. So sometimes if it's not working out, sometimes if I can't manage, I'm not harsh on myself. I'm just like, okay, it's okay, you pick it up tomorrow. Because sometimes you're also tired,
Yeah.
We're all human. By the end of the day, you've taken like 8-10 classes, and you're just like, I'm not even in the mood now to look at the business end of stuff, And that's okay. I think that's fine. But I try and keep those hours quite fixed in a way, where I'm like, these are my work hours, these are my chill hours. And the chill hours are not touched by work, and the work hours are not touched by chill.
What happens with someone like you, who's teaching health and fitness to clients, but at the same time also has to look at her own health and fitness? I can't even think that if you're teaching health and fitness Pilates to your clients for 8 classes in a day, which is almost as good as 8 hours, you're actually part of those classes. And then you have to motivate, or I don't know, push yourself to do it for yourself as well, right? How do you get that strength and motivation and, I don't know, discipline?
You know how? I do it before everyone else.
Yeah.
Because if I finish my workout in the morning before I start classes, I will do it for sure. And if I wait till evening, naturally, like you said, I've taken a lot of classes. Sometimes I'm a little tired to kind of look into my own routine at that time. So I usually finish my workout before, or I have fun and work out with my clients and get my workout in as well. But I think, as I said, it's just about finding time for what really matters. And I really genuinely enjoy working out. And I enjoy training people. So for me, work doesn't feel like work. I love every second of it. And the fact that I get to interact with so many different people from different walks of life, it's so interesting. It's also a nice challenge because everyone's body is different, their goals are different. So you're also, thinking, you're also changing routine. It's not like, there's a set workout for everybody. So it keeps it interesting. And I think that's what really keeps me going. I don't know. I just don't find work. It's just a word given to it, passion. But I really enjoy it.
Yeah. It's interesting, because so I've obviously been speaking to a lot of women on the podcast, and one constant question I always have is around structure and their timelines, and all of them have, and how do they give importance to their own fitness, right? And it's interesting because most of them have said the same thing, that if you want to look at your own fitness, you start before you first look at yourself and then do anything else. That's the only way you can kind of achieve it.
Yeah. I think it doesn't make sense. I mean, I know people who really like working out in the evening or late afternoon. Honestly, I think it's just so personal. But overall, I think the consensus is that if you get it done, in a way, get it done, although I love it and I hate calling it get it done. But if you work out and finish your workout before...
It's still a checklist,
Yeah, you start your day, you're more likely to not miss a workout.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Namrata, what would you suggest for women who are, especially right now during this time, most of us who are home, working, non-working, but we're all multitasking because our loads have increased, right? And I particularly want to ask for women, what are the kind of stuff they could do to bring that? I know it's a fitness question, but it's something that everybody wants to know. How, when you have maybe just in half an hour, maybe not that 1 hour, because everybody is home and nobody's going to school and nobody's going to office. For women, who are housewives, or even for working women, what is it that you think is the right fitness thing for, especially for women? What are those things and how?
Again, I know you're asking for women, but of course every woman is different. But in general, I would say if you can find about 45 minutes, 3 to 4 times a week for yourself to do a good workout, you're good. And you can do a mix right now because you're home, a mix of body weight training, which is so versatile. I've been taking online classes for a year, and I think till now we are doing different routines, learning new exercises, using different things like the wall as a prop or a sofa as a prop, and just finding so many different ways to work the body and having
so
fun.
Much. Yeah, and there's so much to learn from I mean, look at the resources we have in the form of internet.
Exactly. So there is so much that one can do. So I think just doing body weight training and some form of cardiovascular activity at home. You may not be able to go out for a walk. If you can, great. Like if you have space to do that, great. If you can't, there's even other cardiovascular activity you can do at home, from simple things like skipping rope or, just climbing the stairs up and down a few times. You can do simple things, jumping jack, high knees. All these things add that cardio to your routine because you also want to work on your cardiovascular endurance and, your respiratory system. But you also want to work on strength. So you also work on, say, simple exercises like push-ups, ab reps, wall sits, where you work on strength. Then you want to do dynamic stuff where you're working on flexibility. So all these things together are important. Usually what I like to say is fitness is very holistic or wholesome, right? You want to work on strength, flexibility, balance, endurance, stability, everything, all together. And that is something you can achieve at home. All you have to do is find like 45 minutes, 3-4 times a week to at least keep your fitness regime going.
Interesting. I think I would, I'm focused enough on fitness for women and men and all of that. I want to now I want to talk about you as the person who has grown in the last, as an entrepreneur, as a professional. You started working so early, almost at 16, 17?
16.
16, amazing. And, there's something which is very interesting. A lot of young kids who start or take up a career tend to do switches, right? Tend to switch jobs or career changes and all. What has made you, I know your answer will be passion, but what has made you consistently stay with it? Of course, because when you're young, your mind will always go and say, अच्छा, but मैं वो कर लेती तो ज़्यादा अच्छा था. Oh, मुझे ये करना चाहिए. But you've consistently, managed to be in the fitness space, health and fitness space, and be at it, and of course, build everything around it.
Like you said, one thing is of course passion, and is also the fact that I am passionate about quite a few things, and fitness being one of them. But while I enjoy fitness and while I take my classes, I also make sure I still keep my other passions going. So whether it's wildlife and animal life, I still do a lot for that. Whether it's, I believe in sustainability, so whether it's that, now I started the Earth Circle. I love dance and music and Pilates and everything. So I made a song called Flow. Whether it's, anything, I still try and enjoy those things. So I never feel like, oh, maybe I should have done that also, or maybe I should do that and not do this or whatever, because I do that anyway.
You've managed to not leave your other passion things and maybe just convert one into your profession.
Yeah. And I think also it's all right. Even if you're switching, it's not a big deal, because as you evolve, as you grow, there are constant changes that are going to come about in your life. And as we evolve, I think the most important thing is to accept that evolution and kind of grow from that. And I think, of course, one big reason why I stick to the fitness field, and I've never been thought of doing anything else, or it doesn't cross my mind ever, is the fact that the passion that I have for fitness and the satisfaction that I get from seeing how people are feeling, and the feedback, and the feedback they give me, and just, if I may say, in a way, I am part of their fitness journey, and I'm part of their journey towards just finding themselves as well, in a way.
Impact creation, if that's the right word.
Even though I know I'm just a small part of that journey, it is a very satisfying feeling when they come back to you and say, ever since I started working out, I'm feeling so much happier. I can do so much more. I have so much energy. I have no pain anymore. My lower back doesn't hurt anymore. So all those kind of things really just keep you motivated, keep you going, and just make you feel like, I think I'm doing something right, And luckily, I have the support of my dad, of course, who's also very passionate about fitness, and mom, who's also very, very encouraging, and she works out with me all the time. So even getting feedback from her, it's a very wholesome feeling. It's something that I feel like, fulfilled. There's a very, it's not just, of course, the passion that's led to this, but also the feedback and the response that I get from the people that I train encourages me and motivates me to do more and more.
Yeah, I mean, this is a line that I've heard a lot of times from a lot of people, saying that if the work that you do impacts people, it will always be long lived. It will always keep on growing and growing and growing. Yeah. But tell me, in all of this, where does discipline come in? Because I want to ask you two things in two parts. Discipline, not just for fitness. Of course, where does discipline come in? How does one push themselves to find that discipline, especially during these times? And then, of course, discipline, and then finally merging it with the rest of your life.
I think for me, at least, I feel like discipline is kind of the difference between what I want right now and what I really want.
Okay.
So it's realizing that you need that discipline to achieve the ultimate goal.
Sure.
There might be days when you feel like you need to waver, or you feel like you want to, in simpler ways, have a cheat meal, for example.
Sure.
But then if you look at the ultimate goal and be like, that's what I want to achieve, you kind of already put that other cravings off or the other things you want to do away. So I think discipline plays a huge role because it's really it's one of the few things that I can say you can't get rid of if you want to achieve your goal. Because it's the consistency, it's the discipline, it's just the discipline. I don't even have a better word for it. It's just really what you need.
But tell me something, when it comes to fitness specifically, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for example, a huge part of my life, and I can tell you my story. I went behind trying to lose weight. It became worse after I had my daughter and put on humongous amount of weight and all of that. But then there came a point wherein I was like, no, I think I'm running after the wrong thing, because then you set goals which are unrealistic and stuff like that.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, I realized that it's that 20 minutes every day for the next 30 days or next XYZ months, which are going to make a difference, rather than saying, oh, 1 hour to mujhe karna hai.
Yeah.
Right? It's that question of, is it goals or is it the process?
So it's both, I would say. Like I said, it's the consistency as well. So it's not like, okay, if I do this for 5 days, I'm going to be superwoman,
Yeah.
It's like, no, understanding that it's a long-term process. Like we always say, fitness is not a destination, it's a journey, you know? And you can't be like, I've reached there and I'm done. Because you'll always have more to achieve. There's always more. And whether it's weight loss, which I'm not a big fan of, the term I'm not a big fan of, but whether it's weight loss or just getting fitter, it's a long-term process, and discipline is required. Like you said, it's not important to do 1 hour every day. It's important to be consistent with it. You can't be like, today I'll do 1 hour, tomorrow I'll eat, day after I'll do 1 hour. It doesn't work like that. You have to find a routine, find something that works for you, and also break up your goal. You might have a big ultimate goal, but celebrate the small wins, And I think one way of staying disciplined or staying motivated is giving yourself a pat on the back when you deserve it. I think we all tend to be pretty harsh on ourselves, when we don't achieve something in the timelines we've set, because most of the time we set unrealistic timelines for ourselves. We kind of then weigh ourselves down and feel sad about it, and then we push even more, then we do even more drastic things. We go on these fat diets and we do all these things which are actually more harmful for the body. So discipline is important, yes, but once you find the right regime, once you find the right routine, and I feel like it's quite easy to stick to a routine and be consistent if you're doing it right. Because I always say, whether it's with your fitness, there's no point killing yourself. You don't need to overdo it. Even a 20-minute workout can be super effective. You don't need to work out 7 days of the week. Give your body a day off. It all depends. You might have a day of active rest. You might have a day where you're really pushing. You might have a day where you're just stretching, Whether it's your food, you might eat well a lot of days of the week. But if you enjoy that treat meal, I don't call it cheat meal, I call it treat meal. It's okay to have that treat meal, It's important, I would say, because your mind needs it. You can't always be like, I can't do this, I can't do that. You go out with your friends, they all are eating and you're like, no, I can't, because you're just going to put so much pressure on yourself that you're actually not going to achieve your goals, because stress is a big hindrance towards achieving your goals. So, I think it's just about finding consistency, finding something that works for you and rewarding yourself. We forget that rewarding process. And when you reward yourself, when you're, doing something that's sustainable, like in terms of the process, discipline comes in a lot easier, motivation comes in a lot easier. You'll also start achieving the small goals faster. You'll see the rewards. You'll want to achieve the next goal because you rewarded yourself. So it's a much happier process.
Absolutely. Tell me, you briefly spoke about meditation and you practicing it. If you have to simplify it for people who are, I meditate, but it took me a certain time to get a hang of it, in the sense, it's a journey, and I don't know, I can't explain that. But for people who are starting, everybody hears it's important, right? But for people who are starting, just sitting for that 5 minutes is a big, big, big thing. How do they start, and why should they do it?
How do they start? I'll start up with answering that. I think find something first that you enjoy. Like for me, also, I had so much going on in my head that when I also have to sit down and meditate, it's like my mind is thinking about what will I do in class tomorrow? Oh, which song can I dance on tonight? There's so much going on in the head that it's really hard to sit down and silence that mind. And so I would say I started with a lot more active meditation in the form of dance, in the form of music, in the form of scuba diving, in the form of my exercises. So in my exercises, anyway, as I said, we do a lot of mindfulness practice where we are focusing a lot on the breathing. So all those things really help me silence my mind a bit. And also, I think a very important part of meditation is saying hello to the thoughts that come into your head, not trying to ignore them, not trying to force them out, acknowledging that those thoughts are there and then moving forward with that thought.
And it takes certain amount of time to be able to
it does
build on
and
that.
I think,
yeah
and I think just for me, like I said, dancing, music, singing, they're all excellent ways to find peace because all of these focus on your breath. And what at the end of the day, at least for me, is meditation is understanding your breathing, understanding your breath. So to begin with, I think the most important thing is to breathe. Forget how you're breathing, forget closing your eyes, forget all of that. Exercise. Do a crunch and focus on your exhale and inhale. Do a plank and just focus on it. Or just stay in a plank. The main thing with meditation is the reason the mind wanders so much is because it has nothing else to focus on. So that's why, people tend to put on like music sometimes, meditation, guided meditation, or music for meditation. So there's something else the mind can focus on rather than just the thoughts in the head. So we have this form of exercise called Zenga, Zenga, where we use like a ball, those mini stability balls. And we use that ball to kind of meditate through the movement of the ball. And the reason it works so well is because you have a prop as simple as a ball. And for example, you take that ball and you put it in front of your chest, in your heart center, and you inhale and try and see how much the ball expands or goes in front, and exhale, it comes back in. Automatically, your mind is focusing on the ball and the movement of the ball and not the 100 other thoughts that might be there. And it's also bringing awareness to how much you're inhaling and how much you're exhaling. You can do a similar thing and put the ball on one side. See how much you're expanding and contracting on the ribs. Try the other side. Is it the same or not? Put it on your belly. See how much that's happening. So it's a very nice prop to kind of focus your mind and get your breath work going. And then, of course, over time, you can maybe lessen the aids you take and see if you can do it. But just accept the thoughts coming in. I think that's the most important thing. And why is it important? Like, we know why it's important. There are thousands of studies talking about why. In fact, I've read somewhere some time ago about how people who meditate, like in the olden days, of course, now we've lost a lot of the knowledge, I think, over the years, but how people used to levitate when they used to meditate. So there's a huge power in meditation. There's a frequency that your body is, in tune with, or the vibration that you need, and just the focus on your breath work, not the control of the brain, but the mastery of the mind. So I think that's something that's very important, because in a fast-paced world that we live in, even more so, because we need to calm down. We need our heart rate to be relaxed. We need to be not stressed, at least for some point of the day.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why meditation is really important. And it's proven, even for me, my skin health, hair health, body, mind, everything has improved since I started meditating.
I think for me personally, one reason I could get through the entire chaos of last year was that 10 minutes, centering, if those who are into meditation,
exactly.
Centering and grounding is what it does. But that was quite deep. Namrata, just the last part of the conversation.
Yes.
At a young age, you have achieved a lot. A lot of people see you as successful, but I'm sure as an individual, you have lots to achieve. What is it that, where do you want to go from here in terms of impacting more people?
I think, of course, we have a couple of studios across the country right now, but the big goal is to really be able to take this form of exercise to every possible part of the country. The challenge, of course, is, if I may say very honestly, also the cost. It's not
infrastructure.
Yeah, it's the infrastructure. It's an expensive form of exercise because of the equipment, because of the education, everything. But my goal really is to be able to reach as many people as I can across the country, because I've seen how Pilates, Zenga, flowing, and all these forms of mindful exercise has helped me not only physically but mentally, and has helped a lot of my clients not only physically but mentally. And I think the combination of being healthy physically, mentally, spiritually, I think is very, very important.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one thing that I'm very keen on. And so I've been trying, whether it's through online classes, trying to do more group classes, trying to put out whatever I can through social media. Although, like I said earlier, I'm not a very big person on, digital. I mean, I know it's important and I really do want to share whatever I can, but I'm also not someone who likes to be on my phone all the time.
Yeah.
So it's a, catch 2020 kind of, where it's like, I want to share as much as I can, but it's like, I also want to help people in person. I also want to give one-to-one attention to people. And, it's never been about being famous or being popular or, it's never been that for me. It's always been about just doing the best that I can in whatever I do. And I just feel like if I can't do it justice, then I'd rather not do it. I'd rather do it properly or not do it at all. So, I think the goal with the studios, at least, is to open as many as I can across the country so that we can really reach as many people as possible and people can really benefit from this form of exercise. And maybe write another book, because the first book I wrote was when I was 17. And it's been exactly 10 years now.
Wow.
So I think it's time for another book.
I was trying to avoid not revealing your age. You just did.
It is what it is.
Yeah. But this is amazing. That was thoughtful, deep, and my kind of conversation, if I have to say so. Thank you so much, Namrata. I think, the idea was that I get somebody who practices mindfulness, who practices meditation. And the more we talk about these forms of centering or grounding, right, the more people would benefit out of it.
100%, yeah.
So thank you so much for your time. I hope you achieve whatever you plan to do with not just the studios, but individually, with all your passion projects as well as the studio.
Thank you so much. I hope the same for you.
My pleasure.
Thank you for watching this. If you've enjoyed this conversation, make sure you hit the like button, comment what was your favorite part, and also subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to press the bell notification to never miss a new episode, because we have a lot more coming. This podcast is available on Spotify, Apple, Google, JioSaavn by the name Questions I Wanted to Ask. You can listen to it wherever you like. Link will be in the description. You can follow me on social media, Instagram, Twitter, etc. And all the links are in the description. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.